the things. I'm going to be right over there so that I could click on the computer. But I also want to encourage everybody to stop me at any point. So if you have any questions, it'll be a very informal sort of presentation, and hopefully we get through a couple of things together and we learn a couple of things. All right? So again, it's my great honor to be here. I've worked with this wonderful couple for a couple of years, and they're just great. I'm sure most of you guys know that. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'll start with a story from a therapist. We got lots of stories, right? But a very successful businessman walks into his first therapy session. This isn't my story, by the way. This story got introduced to me by a professor a very long time ago. And, he sits down in the first therapy session and he says, hey, doc, I don't think I love my wife anymore. So the therapist gets up and says, oh, that's easy. Problem solved. Go home and love your wife. He's like, I don't think you heard me. I don't think I love her anymore. No, I heard you exactly I heard exactly what you said. And I think a lot of us, and just in society, we've been sort of Disney-fied, right? We think that love just sort of sprinkles from magic, clouds, and we just feel it all the time. But guys, love is action. Love is a verb. Love is not a thing. It's not a magical feeling. Love is what you do day in and day out. You have to decide to love your spouse on a daily basis, even when it's the most difficult thing to do. I oftentimes share, because sometimes, they want to know, does this therapist, know what he's talking about? Has he ever been married? How many times has he been married? I met my wife when I was 15 years old. We've been married 25, going on 26 years. And it's been ups and it's been downs, So I'm here to just attest also that it's the hardest thing that we're called to do. It's the hardest thing. So by the grace of God, we're still continuing to grow together. We're still learning from each other. But love is action. So through actions, feelings are born. So go home and love on your loved ones. It's that simple. The decision that you make on a daily basis to go home and love on that person. And what does love look like? When we first meet each other, we stop by the store, pick up some chocolates, some roses, and everything is this euphoric feeling of just like, oh my God, I love this person. A couple years go down, and we're battling traffic, and we open up the door, we're like, hey, what's up? How you doing? And we forget to do those little details. Now, it's not always going to be chocolates and roses, but are those things important? Absolutely. 100%. One of my favorite therapists says, day in and day out, it's about the little things. 80% of what's going to make your marriage work is how you greet each other in the morning. Do you kiss each other? Do you look at each other? Do you say, bye, I'll miss you? Do you text each other during the day? Action. When you see each other at night, are you too boggled down with what happened during the day that you forget to hug and embrace your spouse? You just start going through chores? The action of love is what creates that feeling. So I just want all of us, as we leave here today, if you walk out with nothing else, walk out with, I'm going to decide to love on a loved one today. And what's that going to look like? So I encourage you all to think about that. So needless to say, the story goes, he went home, he loved on his wife, week in, week out. Couple of months later, he's back in love again. So let's think about that. It's very easy to fall into the monotony of every single day, just getting tasks completed, doing this, doing that, tending to the kids, worried about work, that we forget about each other. Okay? So, communication. As we all know, I am certain, we all could use better forms of communication. Some of us are a lot better than others, and I always say, does that mean that you shouldn't try? Does that mean that you should not, take a moment to say, what can I do to better learn to communicate with my spouse? One thing that I always tell clients during sessions is, and I'm sure it's a very pop psych type of thing to talk about, but it is insanity to continue to try to do the same thing and expect different results. So we have to break that insane cycle. If your spouse is not hearing you, have you tried to say it a different way? Maybe not. Maybe the change needs to start within instead of expecting your spouse to change. I always say, and one of the things that blew my mind when I started my journey to become a therapist was when I learned, a professor said, that which we most hate or dislike in others can lead us to an understanding about ourselves. So you are sitting here pointing the finger at your wife or your husband saying, this, that, and the other. And you're so upset. There's a lot of energy behind that. But in reality, when you start realizing that the energy is actually coming from within you, and it's challenging you to change yourself, now your mind is blown. Now you start to realize, oh man, this is ticking me off about my wife, and in reality, it's something that I got to work through on myself. Then we stop blaming. So communication will work in these following little bullet points that I have here. And I think the very first one is crucial. You must first focus on understanding before seeking to be understood. Focus on understanding your spouse instead of, but she's not listening to me. Well, have you tried first understanding what she or he is saying? Another thing, the next one, avoid interrupting. This is a continual thing that I see in clinical practice. I wasn't gonna point at him, but he gave himself away. Avoid interrupting. I know that it is hard. I know that it is difficult. You feel like you're not going to have an opportunity to make your point, or you say, but I'm going to forget my point, Edwin, so I have to say it immediately. No, you don't. Grab a pad, write it down, and wait till she finishes, or wait till he finishes. So I always encourage, when you're about to argue, grab a notepad, sit down with a pen, and start taking notes. Avoid interrupting. A key to good communication. The next one, do not formulate responses. Have you ever been in an argument with somebody and one person is talking and you can tell the other wheels are already turning? They're like, I'm about to say this right now. Stop formulating responses. That means you're not listening. You're not trying to understand, so how could you expect to be understood? Do not formulate responses. Secondly, mirror. No, not look in the mirror. Mirror your partner. What does that look like? So, when I am discussing something and I'm talking to clients, I say, your spouse has just said something. Repeat what she just said. That's mirroring. Repeat it. You would be surprised how many times things start coming out of left field. Why? because we've been formulating responses, or we already know, but I really know what she means, Edwin, and that's really what she's saying. No. First seek to understand before being understood. And the next one, the last one, is validate what they are saying. What does that look like? So for instance, my wife will start telling me something, and I will typically say, it sounds, let me repeat what you just said to make sure that I understood you. You just told me A, B, C, D. Is that what you just said? At that point in time, my wife gets to say, no, that's not what I said. Let me fix it. Or she says, that's exactly what I said. I said A, B, C, D. At that point, after I mirrored, I then validate. I could see how my action of this made you feel this way. I could see that now. At that point I say, listen, I apologize, that wasn't my intent. Now it's my turn. Now it's my turn to share with her after I validated what she said, not before. So these are key sort of bettering the communication between your partner and yourself. But guess what, guys? It also works with children. And some of us, by the way, we keep hitting our brick wall and saying, my kids don't listen to me. Have you listened to them? So these are communication practices that work with anybody. Maybe that tough coworker, try it out. That tough family member, give it a shot. If you seek to better your communication style, your communication skills, you'd be surprised how many people just become an open book. So keep that in mind. Some of the best communicators, and I heard the pastor and Giuseppe say a couple of these things. I'm like, man, God, we are aligned here. Thank goodness. We're preaching the same thing. So what do best communicators do? Well, they actively listen. I've given you a couple of hints already of what active listening looks like. It means that if you're having, a discussion with your spouse, put the phone down, turn off the TV, turn off the radio. Nothing should be more important. You could say, but I'm listening to you. It doesn't show me that you're listening. Your eyes are not engaged. Your body language shut off. Key and best communicators do this, right? Secondly, be clear with what you are saying. Do not be sarcastic. There are no hidden meanings. Do not try to play detective and catch your partner. Do not set each other up for failure. Best communicators do not trap people. You know what happens when you try to trap people? They close up and they don't want to talk to you anymore. So keep that in mind. Best communicators also empathize. And by the way, empathy can be taught. Read a couple of books on it, take some counseling, get in a group, learn to empathize. What's empathy? Are you able to put yourself in that other person's shoes? Are you able to try to feel how they feel? Before you get caught up in your own feelings, have you walked a mile in their shoes? That's empathy. And everybody could work on this. That's the truth. Everybody could be more empathetic. Best communicators also connect. Again, we've talked about how to best connect. You have some examples at any point. Please ask me any questions. But I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Just connect. Take the time to connect. Authenticity. Authenticity is huge. You know, study was conducted a couple of years ago where they researchers stumbled upon what is the greatest of human frequencies, the greatest energy that comes out of a human being. So what they did, they put human beings in a cage. It wasn't that bad. It was, it was for the research. And just to block them off from all of the electromagnetic field of the earth, just to really analyze what happens inside of humans. And they got them to tell stories, and they would tell stories about their grandma, their past, and they noticed that love was very high, joy very high, gratitude very high, but there was one thing they could not pinpoint. They were like, what is it? Even after they felt joy or they felt gratitude, still anger would follow, or frustration would follow, or different hostile feelings would follow. And when the researchers redid or reconducted the experiment, they realized that at certain moments, they would notice that the clients would get these goosebumps. And they were like, what's going on here? 40 times more powerful it is when a human being is authentic with who they are. 40 times more powerful than love, joy, gratitude. The frequency of being authentic, of searching within and saying, this is who I am, and connecting with that, that brings about the greatest of human frequencies within us. Does that make sense? The power in that? And the beautiful thing about marriage is that when you have a spouse that's next to you, constantly picking at you and working on you, they're forcing you to be your most authentic self. So stop hiding who you really are. Be your most authentic self with your partner, because that's the greatest of human frequencies. So best communicators are authentic. They also, best communicators, they want to know what they look like. What are my facial expressions? What's my body language? So they ask their partners, they constantly say, well, what did I look like? What do I look like when I get upset? I have a running joke with my wife. After being married for so many years, I know she's really ticked off of me because she gets these two lines right here in between her eyebrows. So now we joke about it because I was like, oh, you got the lines, honey. You got the lines. So after she throws something at me, we start communicating again. And again, best communicators model best practices of communicating. You want the best version of your spouse. Why not model what you expect in the marriage? Set them up for success. Questions? Doing okay? All right. All right. Moving on into conflict resolution. So Dr. Gottman, who has been studying marriages since the 70s, says, I can pinpoint and know which couples are headed for divorce. Yep. I can tell you who is right there about to get divorced. And to be a bit dramatic, he also labeled it the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So if any of you here are, riding on the horsemen of the apocalypse, I would encourage you to take a good reflection, good inventory about how we can stop this. So the first one is criticism. Couples that are constantly criticizing each other, there's a great, great red flag. Be very careful. It is not productive at all. Couples that experience this level of criticism, a lot of times, again, Have you guys ever heard hurt people will hurt people? Absolutely. It's very common. And this, again, when we are hurting, it's very difficult to tell individuals, stop hurting others, because a lot of our behaviors are unconscious. They stem up from our unconscious, and they manifest themselves in behavior. So a lot of times in clinical practice, what I do, or what we do, is we try to go deep and analyze where it's coming from. Perhaps there's some childhood trauma. Perhaps you were highly criticized growing up. So now you feel, oh, this is what we do. I love you, but let me criticize you. Not a good idea, ladies and gentlemen. So let's watch out for that. Another one of the apocalypse is defensiveness. Remember what we said at a couple of slides ago when we're formulating responses? It's like, I get defensive if my spouse is telling me something about myself. I feel like I have to defend myself. I have to put up my shield because I'm being attacked. Put the shield down. You're in the same team. Maybe some of those arrows that my wife is flinging my way should hit, and I should reflect. Stop being defensive. If you cannot trust your spouse to tell you the truth and force you to be the most authentic version of you, then what are we doing? Be careful with being defensive. Another very ugly one is contempt. When I see couples reach this level of contempt, it starts to get the little hairs in the back of my head to stand up. Because at this point, it's getting very, very nasty. A lot of sarcasm, a lot of let me dig at things that I know really hurt you. And again, a great indication of we're headed somewhere bad very fast. And one of, again, there's no necessary order, but what I feel, or what I've seen, to be honest with you, happens ultimately is stonewalling. It's, here is a huge stone wall. Everything you say, I'm not hearing it. I don't care. I've checked out. So when couples first start and they come in for whatever type of help, it's very clear to see. And I tell them, I know it may not feel like it right now, but thank goodness that you're still arguing. Because if you're arguing, that means you still have something to fight about. It's heartbreaking to see where couples are sitting down in front of me and they've checked out. There is no more, there is no care. I don't care to fight about this anymore. And they think, but we're not fighting anymore, Edwin, so we're doing better. But you're also not talking. So it's not going to work. Conflict resolution's never going to help. It's never going to be effective unless we eliminate these behaviors. And I tell a lot of clients, I share with them, sometimes we are unaware of what we're doing. We're just sort of living life, we're unaware that we might be highly critical or, we might be full of defensiveness. And part of therapy calls people out and saying, it sounds like you're doing this. And we bring it to the awareness so that now you could do something about it. So we push to awareness so that you could grasp it and say, I've got to stop doing this. So, some strategies. Openly communicate. There goes that word again. You must openly communicate. Use I statements, not you statements. How many of us are aware of this? No. You did this and you did that, therefore you've got to change. Rather, I felt this way when you behave. there you go. I felt this way. I would really appreciate this, that, and the other. Owning it. That's what we strive couples to sort of work on. Own it. We are not trying to control another. First, control yourself. And a lot of times, I think, again, what we see is individuals trying so very hard to change the other. That's right. Focus on yourself. Become a better you, and you'll see the difference that happens. So, how do you de-escalate? Again, strategies for resolving conflict. Be calm. A lot easier said than done. I get it. But be calm. Start to recognize these are my triggers. What am I going to do? Am I going to take a pause? And do I need to express to my wife, openly communicate? Listen, this is a very touchy subject for me. You're talking about my mom again. I need 5 minutes. Mama's off limits, okay? Be caring. Be caring. What does that look like? When you view your spouse as somebody that you ultimately just care and want the best for, de-escalation starts to happen naturally. You want them to be in a good place, and more often than not, it tends to be reciprocated. You show care, therefore she will show care. You show hostility, what will be reciprocated? Be curious. Be curious. How often have we, noticed our spouse walking around stomping, just throwing stuff all over, and we're just like, I'm not going to be, I'll be in the other room. Be curious, because that storm is a-coming. Hey, honey, I noticed you threw the plate. Do you want me to help? What can I do for you? Going into being collaborative, right? You must collaborate. You must collaborate in any and every action possible. One of the things that I highly encourage marriages to do is, again, another study showed highly successful marriages do one of these, actually 3 of these following activities. Once a week, highly effective and healthy marriages meet once a week to discuss logistics. How are we running our household? How are the bills getting paid? Who's going to drop off baby boy to soccer? What are we going to do? Logistics, scheduling is talked about. Highly successful marriages do this consistently on a weekly basis, about an hour and a half. It's not a fun meeting. It's not supposed to be. Life just has to get done. The second thing is once about every 2 to 3 weeks, there's a date night planned. Somewhere to go off to dinner, doesn't have to be fancy. Just break the routine, make a plan, go somewhere, and enjoy each other. Break the scenery. And the third thing that highly effective or healthy couples do is once every 6 to 7 months, they plan a mini getaway, a mini romantic vacation. What does this do for couples? Let's think about that. It starts to build up this anticipation of, oh yeah, we're going to go and, be romantic. So you have something to look forward to rather than, I guess we're just going to go errand through errand, through work, expecting nothing. So keep that in mind. Logistics once a week, about 2 weeks, go out on a date, break the routine, and plan a mini vacation every now and then. It's important to keep that flame alive. And I get it. With kids, it's hard. With responsibilities, it's difficult. But if you do not prioritize your marriage, everything starts to crumble anyway. You know, one of the healthiest things that we could do for our kids? A lot of people don't realize this because we invest so much time to our kids. But one of the healthiest things that we could do for our children is to show them how united a mother and father are. Show them how much in love you are, how you treat each other. That does magnificent things for their mental health. So a lot of parents, sometimes we just want to pour all our love into our kids. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I am telling you it's sort of a bad thing. If your kids are the center of your world, your marriage is suffering. So remind yourself, both of you should be at the top. Well, first, God, obviously. Goes without saying. I believe that wholeheartedly. A foundation for every good marriage is God. After that, it's both of you. And then come the children. That doesn't mean that you leave them without food and go off on your vacation. By the way, I want that to be clear in case anyone's recording. I didn't say leave your kids without food. But prioritize your marriage, okay? And now, forgiveness. One of the most impactful things in 2010 that came out of study, couples that pray together stay together. Couples that pray together will stay together. And Giuseppe shared the stat. It's about 56 percent, inching closer and closer to 60% now. It's insane. So they end up in divorce. But if you look at the couples, 1 in 1,500 of the couples that pray together, just one will get divorced. Less than 1% of the couples. And that to me is something that's just like, why are we not teaching this? And by the way, because I highly encourage this in my practice, I also want to tell you what is a not good idea of how you pray, because a lot of you could get very sneaky. God, please help my wife not be so dirty. God, please help her cook more. That is not praying, guys. That is your jabbing at your wife at the expense of God. And I can assure you, he does not like that either. He's like, you're trying to put me in the middle of this? No, it ain't going to go good for you. So, again, I can assign it. I can share the stats with you. I can point you in the direction of the literature that's telling you to do it. But a very small statistic of individuals will actually start implementing this on their day-to-day. And that's just sad, in my humble opinion. Because we know what works, and yet it's not being done. We have the truth in front of us, and yet we do not seek it. I don't think it gets any clearer than this. So I highly encourage you, again, another thing to walk out with today, and just think and say, how can I start implementing this? You know, before we go to work, before we go to sleep, if your schedules don't align, what is it going to look like in your life? How are you going to start implementing it in your life? How are you going to teach this to your kids so that then they know how to build the foundation of a strong marriage? Because as you know, again, I will say, I am very humbled, and the beautiful words that Giuseppe and Joanna have shared, but I am a tiny, tiny particle of their success. Tiny. They've done the work. I think God has worked tremendous miracles in them, and their testimony will, we'll get to hear it. And it's just awesome. It's amazing. So all glory to God. And I will just say, what does this tell us about forgiveness, though? When they train us to go through clinical practice, sort of that topic of forgiveness is one of those things that they try to teach therapists to stay away from. They're like, oh, no, don't tell, you have to forgive. No. Don't go there with people, because then, it's very much tied into this, that, and the other. And the more that I work with couples, the more that I seek out the truth biblically, we are called to do this. Amen. We have been forgiven. Yes. How dare we not forgive? Nobody here is perfect. No. I know for sure. I am not. Sure. Plenty of flaws. I struggle on a day-to-day basis. So when you look at your spouse with the eyes of care, with the eyes of love, deciding, acting, I will love on this person, even in the moments that she may not, quote unquote, deserve it. I know I'm not deserving. And yet I still received forgiveness. Amen. So remind yourself of this very, very heavy topic as you continue day in and day out, working together. Some of my favorite biblical verses, again, are here. And again, in Ephesians 4:32, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ God forgave you. Again, Luke, forgive and you will be forgiven. Just, it's all throughout. And I encourage you guys to really tap into that and really think about it. So one thing that I constantly stress with couples that I work with, you have got to believe that your marriage is under attack. That is a fact. There are forces that you cannot see that are constantly working towards destroying you. That's right. Because if you are divided, you are more likely to get away from God. If somebody were to tell you, Pastor, at 1 a.m. today, there's going to be 3 individuals that are going to break into your house. For sure. What are you going to do? I'm going to get ready for them to take my gun. Exactly. He is going to prepare to defend his most loved and sacred things in his life and be ready for it. I am telling you, there are forces working against your marriage on a daily basis. Instagram, internet, coworker, family member, TikTok, whatever. Constantly trying to throw in seeds of separation. How do you arm yourself against those evil forces? There you go. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. One of my favorite things. I constantly copy and send that to my kids, probably once a week, every couple of weeks. I tell them, do not forget to pray. I constantly pray for my kids. My oldest, God bless, got married last year, and she's my daughter. She's my baby, right? My first princess. And we start hearing things, and like all marriages, it's like, hey, everything's beautiful and great. Yeah, you wait a second. And then all of a sudden, son-in-law starts looking like, okay, do I have to go check him? Like, what's going on? That is the internal part of me that's like, okay, you're not gonna. But instead, I start to view it like, no, there are forces that are trying to destroy this very young couple. So instead, I pray for them. And I pray for them often. My daughter, who is going to compete, my second daughter, 21 years old, she is going to go compete in Waco. She's very into fitness. She does all of these triathlons and good things like that. And she constantly comes to me and says, Dad, I don't know why I feel so sad. So sad. And I hit my knees. I get on my knees and I start praying, and I text my brother, pray for my daughter. And I kid you not, it gives me goosebumps to think about it a couple of days later to see how God works. And she just wakes up and says, Dad, I'm feeling good. I'm going to go do my workout. I'm feeling good. And I constantly tell her. Then my boys, again, my two youngest are boys, and trying to guide them to be men of God and constantly praying for them. And I share these things about my kids because Dad's usually pretty busy, they go to Mama. And Mama is like stressing, and now, she's coming, and this and this is happening, and this is happening. If I am not ready for my hurting wife to actively listen, doesn't matter how tired I am, if I'm not ready to actively listen, and I guess I'll take a couple steps back to share with you all. Am I good on time? Okay. Sometimes I go through session after session after session. On the ride home, I sort of try to put my counselor hat off, and I just want to decompress, listen to some music, et cetera, et cetera. And getting into the house, the missus many years ago would see me and would see that I was in decompression mode. It's like, okay, he's handled a lot today. I'm going to keep it all in. But I share that because I wasn't doing a very good job of seeing that she was burdened with a lot of weight. Because in my head, guess what? I'm so tired, poor me. I've been working so hard. It's so late. I haven't eaten. I'm hungry. And instead, she was holding it in till one night she just broke down crying. And I said, what's going on? She's like, I know that you're tired. I don't want to put more on you. But this is happening with this kid. This is happening with that kid. And I just don't know what to do. And I'm like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I said, don't ever feel like you cannot come to me. Don't ever feel. I am sorry that I wasn't able to see the heavy load that you were carrying, but please wake me up, shake me, tell me we've got some things to handle. Now, instead of hitting decompress mode, I'm going home thinking, okay, dad mode. And how do we do that? By actively communicating. So in part, I was letting her know, I can't figure it out. I'm not a mind reader. You've got to let me know. But I am also going to own the fact that I could not see you. I wasn't looking for you. So keep this in mind. And as we continue sort of wrapping up here, be careful of a couple of things. Because you are under attack, because your marriage is under attack, watch what you consume. I mean that in every sense of the word. What you are consuming with your eyes, what you are consuming with your mouth, it will affect you. And are you helping those evil forces destroy you guys? Then you have to watch what you consume. Oh, that movie is very risky and this, that, and the other. Be very careful. What doors are you opening? Watch with whom you connect. Some of you may have some friends that, yeah, they're very cool and they're a good time and this, that, and the other, but they might be whispering some things in your ear that are drawing you away from your marriage. Right. Hey, why don't we stop by this bar, you know, sure. I've fallen for that one way too often. Watch the activities that you enjoy together. If they are not, if the ultimate goal is not bringing you closer together, then what are you engaging in those activities for? So question it. I'm not telling you I have the secret formula of what's going to work for you, because again, things that work in my marriage may not work for your marriage, and that's okay. My wife loves salsa dancing. I'm going to go salsa dancing with her because she enjoys it. I like it too, to be honest with you. But we should know salsa dancing should not be, let's take shots at the bar and let's put ourselves into danger. Are we focusing on growing together? Or are we letting those seeds of discord start to grow and separate us? Watch your time. It's valuable. Where you invest your time, that is what shows your wife, your kids, what's most valuable to you. If you're not spending time with them, you're sending a very clear message. And watch your values. Watch your values. And the good book does a very good job of reminding us of such. So I will then just thank you all for this wonderful opportunity to come here and speak to you all. I hope that you got just a little bit, and if anyone's interested in this presentation, just I can email it to you. I didn't print anything out because usually, you know, paper goes to waste. But I gladly share, and if I could ever, you know, be assistance, I'll be praying for all of you. God bless you guys. You have a wonderful pastor in church. First time I met him, but I feel like I know him so much. Heard so many wonderful things about him, and so I highly encourage, and may God bless your ministry and it continue to grow. And God bless this couple for putting this together. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you.